in the dharmic traditions originating in the Vedic culture, which is traditionally concentrated within India, within the dharmic traditions, it's understood that the highest attainment in human life and the real goal of human life must be self-realization, and that to attain self-realization, one has to be guided by a guru who guides according to the Vedic principles. And that was adjusted by those who didn't want to follow the Vedic principles, but who to a large extent followed many of the teachings of the Vedas. I'm thinking of the Buddhists in particular, who use the word dharma, and they have the ultimate goal to be self-realization. It's a bit hard to say because they don't believe in the self, but I'm just making the point here that they also accept that you need to be guided by a guru. That's very strongly in the various traditions under the umbrella of Buddhism. Within the Vedic tradition, it's understood that guru means he has to teach according to the Vedas. And what is the ultimate goal of the Vedas? He should know. Guru means a jnani, one who knows and who teaches others. Guru means a teacher. That means he should know. And then what is the goal of the Vedas? That is very clear in the Bhagavad-gita, which is universally accepted by the followers of the Vedic culture, although many don't seem to know this point, or they don't follow this point, or they don't want to accept this point. Lord Krishna says, Vedaischa sarveraham eva Vedaha. In all the Vedas, it is Krishna who is to be known. This is the ultimate goal of Vedic knowledge. There are many different kinds of worship recommended in the Vedic literature for different people at different levels, but the ultimate goal is Krishna himself, as we know from the Padma Purana, who Lord Shiva, who is widely worshipped within Vedic culture and accepted by many to himself be the goal of Vedic culture. But when he was asked about the highest type of worship by his wife, Parvati, he replied to her, Aradhananam sarvesham Vishnur aradhanam param tasmat parataram devi tadhyanam samarchanam. That the highest kind of worship is the worship of Vishnu. But he gave even higher than that, is the worship of that which is in relation to Vishnu, which is understood to mean specifically his devotees, because Lord Krishna himself says, Mad Bhakta Puja Vyadika. When Lord Krishna was requested by Uddhava to explain the worship of himself, Lord Krishna, in the course of explaining the process of deity worship, stated that worship of my devotees is even greater than worship of myself. So guru, in the best meaning of the word, should mean someone who knows and accepts and practices in his own life that Krishna is the goal of all the Vedas. However, the Vedic literature also warns us against persons who take the role of a guru, but who themselves are deluded by Krishna's Maya, and they may follow various Vedic processes, various rituals and sacrifices. They may be very expert in the chanting of mantras and performing yagyas. They may torture their bodies by fasting and other austerities, but they're missing the point, which, as Krishna concludes his teachings in Bhagavad-gita, is Savadhaman Parityaja Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. Abandon all varieties of dharma, religious processes, and just surrender to me. What is the meaning of this? There are so many processes given in the Vedas, in the Vedic literature, but Krishna says ultimately one has to leave all these behind and come to the point of fully surrendering to Krishna only. But persons who perform severe austerities or who are expert in chanting mantras, they are respected for that, and they're often looked up to as great gurus, great gyanis. However, Shastra itself says, Shatkarma nipano vipra mantra tantra visharadaha avaishnava guru nasyad vaishnava svapacha guru, who, even if someone is expert in performing various rituals and processes given in the Vedas, he's expert in chanting many mantras. If he's not a devotee of Krishna, he's not a Vaishnava, he's not qualified in the truest and best sense of the word to be a guru. But even if someone comes from a most abominable background, it said svapacha, one who cooks and eats dogs, means from the socially considered lowest order. If he's a Vaishnava, then he's a guru. And it's considered that someone who has matted hair or a big beard, or maybe wearing a deer skin, they should be a guru, but it shouldn't simply be by appearances. It's relatively easy to grow a long beard and put lots of chandan or sandalwood paste on the face. That's relatively easy. But to actually understand the purpose of life and be competent to guide others toward it is not necessarily the same thing. And we find that there's a whole class of men in India who take the dress of a sadhu, maybe because they're, a major reason being because they're not able to earn a living, and they beg from shop to shop, get a little here and there. But it's often seen that they're smoking and not really very spiritual. So you can't judge just by the dress. Of course, it's not that someone who has a long beard is necessarily rejected on that basis, but the point is not by the dress. Nowadays, there are many gurus who don't dress like, well, not so many, but some are in a suit or conventional Western dress, and they speak on Vedanta. Again, it's not by the dress that you can understand who's who. This is the key. Vedaischa sarvarahameva Vedaha. Krishna is the goal of the Vedas. And particularly this principle given by Srila Rupa Goswami, the essence of all the Shastras, that devotional service should be taught by a guru. It's not just philosophy, but it teaches how to engage in practical activities conducive for self-realization, which means devotional service to Krishna, because Krishna is the goal of the Vedas. And that should be done. Rupa Goswami, giving the essence of all Vedic teaching, says, Anyabhilashita shunya. One should be cultivating a sense of nothing personal, nothing for me. I'm just doing it out of love or devotion for Krishna. And it should be clear and obvious to understand, although unfortunately it's not to everyone, that someone who engages in the pleasures of this world, who is supposed to be a spiritualist, but at the same time is very interested in living a very luxurious life and maybe not even a vegetarian. Maybe taking intoxication, they cannot be a guru. Or someone who speaks about all kinds of things, personality of development, how to live happily in this world, how to adjust your life in this world. That's the main thrust of their teaching. Or they may just speak whatever comes into their head at any moment in time. They're not proper guide. A proper guide should tell us what the goal is. The goal is Krishna, and guide us in that way. And it may be even someone is supposed to be a Vaishnava, they're initiated in a bona fide Vaishnava sampradaya, but they speak all kinds of things which are not related to Krishna consciousness, not even indirectly. So you can't become liberated just by putting some ash or some sandalwood on your body, or going to live in a cave or in the forest, because there are so many animals that live in the forest. They're also vegetarians, many of them. There are many living creatures, fish, who live in the Ganga, but simply by living in the Ganga doesn't make you self-realized. So in the same way, you can go and live on the bank of the Ganga, which is a very, very good and pious and beneficial, but it doesn't make you self-realized in and of itself. Or you may think, well, I'll just be a good, responsible person, do my duties, earn money, and this is the goal of life. Kamanyavadikaraste. We often hear people quote this. Lord Krishna says, you're entitled to do work, and they think this is the teaching of Bhagavad-gita, just work and earn money. But then Krishna says, Ma paleshu kadachana, don't be attached to the result. But that is not in and of itself the complete teaching of Bhagavad-gita. We have to know the complete teachings of Bhagavad-gita, which begins with differentiation between matter and spirit. We are not the body. We are suffering because we are going from life to life to life without taking this point. Vaidesha sarvera hameva vedyaha. We're all meant to concentrate on Krishna. So there may be persons who know something superficially about the Vedas, quote the Vedas, but they're not really there. Just this simple point. If you miss it, you missed everything. You didn't get the point. Then you may be immersed in the ocean of Vedic literature, but without getting the point, we remain immersed in the ocean of birth and death, or immersed in the ocean of false arguments. There's so many. By logic, we can go this way, this argument, that argument, bring up this thesis, this theory, rebut someone else's theory. But what about Krishna? We're missing the point. We're meant to love Krishna. Our heart is meant for loving. And the Vedic literature teaches us, don't be misled by the love of this world, but don't also be misled by those who reject love altogether and say just stop all desires. Love is meant for Krishna and Krishna's devotees, and for all living beings, seeing them in relation to Krishna. This is what a guru should teach. Otherwise, he may do some magic tricks. People are often amazed by some magic tricks. There are so many yogis, or at least there used to be. Nowadays, people are more interested in being a bhogi than a yogi. So we don't see even many people who are good at doing magic, like producing some ashes or producing some little trinkets here and there. What is the use? Without understanding Krishna, what is the use? We should know what is in Shastra, but at the same time, if we miss the point of Shastra, then it's something like in archery. There's a target, and if we're very strong and we can pick up the bow, string it, pull it, we know the techniques, but we miss the target. A miss is as good as a mile. So we have to hit the point, hit the target, which is that I am meant to serve Krishna. That we have to understand through the parampara, someone who just picks themselves up and say, now I'm giving you this teaching, or they may pretend to follow a parampara. Be very careful of those who pretend to follow some parampara, but they just take a little bit from here, a little bit from there. They don't actually come in any proper parampara. They may say, I'm in this parampara, but they've never been trained in that, and they're more or less just cheaters who want to take the role of a spiritual leader, but they're not. And I'm afraid that there are many people are being cheated nowadays in the name of devotion by persons who claim to follow a Vaishnava parampara and may have been initiated in a Vaishnava parampara, but actually have no true interest in representing the parampara, the Vaishnava parampara. They're more or less opportunists who are promoting themselves, and they may claim to follow some parampara and follow the Vedas, while they themselves misunderstand and then they misrepresent the actual teaching. Vedaisha sarvara hameva veja. Everything is meant for Krishna, and Guru is a devotee of Krishna, and we are supposed to surrender to Krishna without any personal desire. So it may seem like devotion, but be careful. A true guru is going to teach you. Start at the beginning. Don't think you can go up to the top immediately. We have to become purified step by step. Follow the rules and regulations. Don't think that you can immediately jump into the highest level of prem bhav without following the rules and regulations given by the acharyas. That won't help. We can pretend that we're self-realized, but actually being self-realized means being free from all material desires, gross and subtle. And we may not even notice the subtle desires that we have for name, fame, glory, prestige, or we may not realize how strongly we are attached to the pleasures of the senses, even if they're very pious pleasures like vegetarian food or the relishing the pastimes of Krishna, but without wanting to hear parts of Shastra which teach us not to be attached to this material world, or enjoying kirtan due to the sweet musical tones. So be careful. Don't be dull, don't be dead A spoon can't taste the food it holds. We have to be alive to our real self-interest. And a guru is meant to help us with that, help us overcome even our unrecognized attachments by engaging us in the process of devotional service as given by Rupa Goswami, or maybe in different sampradayas, others. In particular, at the present time, we're following His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Following him will help. The most powerful, self-realized, God-conscious guru in recent times. So we should understand, as he taught us, as all bona fide gurus and acharyas will teach us, we have to follow the Vedic literature. But at the same time, don't become a bookworm. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu warned against this. Don't think you can just read this and read that and study so much and understand so much. Simply amassing knowledge of scripture can't free one from one's material attachments and misconceptions. If we are deeply affected by misconceptions, such as everything is all one, a common misconception, then what is the use of studying the Shastra? We need to study Shastra according to Guru Parampara, under the guidance of bona fide Guru. Otherwise, it's something like getting a mirror for a blind person. The mirror can't help a blind person. Ajnanatimirandhasya jnananjana shalakaya chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave namaha. We pray to the Guru, offer our respects, because he has given us vision. Our eyes are as if with cataracts, but the Guru applies the ointment which clears the cataract, and then we can see. So Shastra undoubtedly gives us proper guidance, and it's the source of all kinds of knowledge, of karma yoga, jnana yoga, ashtanga yoga, bhakti yoga, and in the Vedic literature there are all kinds of knowledge of music and drama and dance and architecture and art and so many things. And in all branches of knowledge, we require a guru. But even if we take only that part of the Vedic knowledge which is concerned with self-realization, we can't study it all. There's, even to understand one verse properly, we may not. Even if we repeat it, we memorize it. And if we think, let me learn more and more and more and more, then I'll become more and more self-realized. It's a big job to study so much, and some pundits are needed to help guide human society. Gurus are supposed to be learned, but at the same time, we should understand that study in itself doesn't give self-realization. Even if we study for thousands of years, study so many literatures, life is short. We have to come to the point. There are so many obstacles on our path of self-realization. So we need guidance. Someone who knows how to turn the key, they can open the door. Someone who doesn't know may have so much theoretical knowledge about keys and locks and doors. Someone who actually knows how to do it, they can help. Srila Prabhupada initiated a little less than 5,000 disciples. I'm very fortunate to be one of them. And all are fortunate who come in the line of Srila Prabhupada, and again, of any bona fide Vaishnava Guru. Very, very fortunate. I wasn't personally trained by Srila Prabhupada. He gave the system that he taught a few devotees who then trained others, and in this way, the training went on while he was present in this world, and that was supposed to be continued, that others would initiate those of his more experienced, dedicated, competent disciples. They should initiate, and then they should also take disciples. And many gurus we see among Srila Prabhupada's disciples, they themselves have many disciples, and they delegate teaching to others among their more experienced disciples. And in this way, the teachings are carried on. So don't be misled. Find who can guide you, teach you properly. Catch the point. It's to Krishna who we must surrender, because Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then self-realization comes relatively easily. I say relatively because there will be so many obstacles. Maya will present so many doubts. But if we can get in the right line and follow the right process and be sincere and accept this system of following a guru who is a devotee of Krishna, who guides us toward Krishna, who doesn't take us this way and that way with so many other things, then very easily we can make our life perfect. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.